Hello from
Santorini.
In this video, we're going on a journey from the bustling streets of Fira to arguably the most romantic destination in the world. From living in a cave house, which was once a pirate hideout, to cliff jumping into the crystal clear turquoise water at Ammoudi. Hey friends, we're Melvin and Melissa, also known as Melsquare, two doctors based in the UK with a passion for wellness, culture, and adventure. In this video of our Greece series, we'll share the top 10 things to do in Santorini, including where to stay, how to get around, and plenty of fun facts and tips to help you plan your dream escape. Number 1. Fira. The bustling capital of Santorini, Fira is where most buses arrive and depart, including those from the airport and the port.
Hello.
Our flight actually landed slightly earlier, and we got the bus. And the bus actually comes once every hour according to the timetable at the airport. It only costs €2 per person, so it's really cheap. But it only comes once every hour, and it was supposed to leave at 20 minutes after we came on the bus, so it actually left 20 minutes earlier. I'm not sure if they're going to have more buses go back, maybe, but if not, then I'm not sure if someone planned to come on on the actual time, but it just left.
It's only like a 10-minute drive actually from the airport, but if you take a taxi, it'll cost you €40, so it's like 10 times cheaper.
Yeah, so we're just heading to the main town now. It's called Fira, and then from there we'll probably take a hike. We've only got backpacks, so it's quite easy to get around.
So we just come off the bus at Fira, and this is the bus terminal there. All the tickets are bought on the bus.
And all the schedules are there. So Fira is the main bus station to everywhere else on the island, like Oia, Kamari, and Parisa, everywhere you from here. Fira is lively and full of energy. Restaurants, shops, nightlife, and the start of the Fira to Oia hiking trail. This 10-kilometer scenic path follows the rim of the Caldera and offers some of the best views of the island. Expect cobble paths, volcanic gravel, and plenty of photo opportunities. A quick tip is to begin in the morning where the weather is cooler and bring water, sun protection, and proper shoes.
We're now walking to Imerovigli. It's really hot here, even with the sunscreen. I think the heat is a little bit like prickling heat. Look at that view.
Number 2. The Three Bells of Fira. Tucked behind the Petros Nomikos Conference Center, this little church with blue domes and its iconic three bells offers one of the most classic Santorini views. It's one of the most photographed churches in the world, and when you see it in person, you'll know why.
So to get to the viewpoints that we put the pictures, and it feels like a treasure hunt into which direction to go to.
We are now in Imerovigli. We made the 35-minute walk.
From Fira to Oia. This is the Fira to Oia trail. The good thing is there's no crowds because it's very hot, so no one's really walking outside except for us. Number 3. Imerovigli and Church of Anastasi. Just north of Fira lies Imerovigli, the highest village on the Caldera edge, known as the balcony to the Aegean. It offers stunning panoramic views without the heavy crowds of Oia or Fira. It's quieter, romantic, and full of bougain villas trailing along its narrow alleys. The perfect sunset spot if you want the magic without the mayhem. And one of the most beautiful churches on the island, the Church of Anastasi, stands out with its striking blue dome and crisp white walls framed by blooming bougain villas. Located in Imerovigli, it's a peaceful place to take in the Caldera views. The church, like many in Santorini, is still active and often hosts weddings with the most spectacular backdrops.
Number 4. Skaros Rock. A massive rock formation just below Imerovigli. Skaros Rock, once the site of a 15th century Venetian fortress. It protected the island from pirates, earthquakes, and invaders. Today, you can take a hike up to the ruins for a jaw-dropping view of the sea and cliffs. The trail is just a bit rough and uneven, but totally worth the climb. Quick tip, wear good shoes and don't attempt it during peak heat.
Number 5. Oia. Famous for its sunsets, pastel buildings, and cliffside charm, Oia is the Santorini you've seen on postcards. But we'll tell you more about that shortly. Note that cars are not allowed past a certain point, so be prepared to walk. We arrive hot and tired, but a street vendor selling camera gear smiled at us with such joy that it completely lifted our spirits. A beautiful reminder to be grateful even in the little moments.
Number 6. Stay in a cave house. We stayed in a traditional cave house Airbnb. It's cool, cozy, and incredibly atmospheric, especially during really hot summer days. We'll link the place that we stayed in the description below.
So it's just checked with our Airbnb and it's literally on the cliffs. Pretty majestic view. And I think you can actually see the Blue Dome Church right from here. And people are doing photo shoots here. And over there you can see some of the properties actually have pools, but ours is the more budget-friendly one, so we don't have any pool. But still pretty impressive. Over here, the bathroom is actually outside. There's a shower, sink, and toilet. It's actually a cave, and a lot of the houses here are actually built into the caves. They're painted this white color because it reflects the sun. And then over here, there's like a little area for cooking and drinking. This is our room. You can see it's like a cave, and over there there's a small little kitchen. Number 7. Have dinner on the Caldera. We dine at one of the restaurants on the Caldera, which have amazing views, but it's important to note that most of these restaurants actually require reservations in advance, and outdoor tables often book out fast, so if you do want to sit outside with the amazing views, do plan ahead.
So there's mussels, sardines, barramundi, octopus, squid, prawns, and sauces.
Number 8. Watch the sunset at the Castle of Oia. Perched on the far northwest edge of the island, the ruins of this old Venetian castle becomes a silent amphitheatre each evening, where hundreds gather to watch the sky perform its golden finale. The view from the castle is iconic, with the whitewashed homes spilling down from the cliffsides, and below the Aegean Sea stretched endlessly, a soft shimmer under the setting sun. When we arrived, it was definitely crowded, but as the sun dipped below the horizon and the final light fades, the crowd applauded, and you're reminded why you came. Not just for the photo, but for the feeling, that sense of wonder that words and pictures can't quite capture. A quick tip is to come at least 45 minutes early to get a good spot, especially in the summer. Bring water, wear something light, and although it might be crowded, expect the view that stays with you.
Thank you. We're just drinking beer and relaxing. And look at that view. Wow.
Number 9. Sunrise in Oia. Before the crowds and the cruise ships arrive, the town breathes a gentle stillness. The cobblestone paths are empty, save for a few early risers and local cats winding between the flower pots and the blue painted doors. The sky begins in whispers, soft lilac and pale peach brushing the edges of whitewashed domes. And slowly, as if the island itself were waking, golden light spills through over the Caldera, casting long shadows and gliding every rooftop and bougainvillea vine in sight. It's quiet, timeless, and for a moment, it feels like you have all of Santorini to yourself. Quick tip, if you're hoping to take photos, get there early. Many of the famous viewpoints fill up even at sunrise, but with a little wandering and patience, you'll find quiet corners just as beautiful.
Morning guys, it's about 6 AM in the morning and we're just gonna go get some photos before all the crowds arrive, and there are some really good photo spots that I'll link in the video as well. See you there.
So, just in terms of like photography for Oia, some of the places are actually private property, but if you live in some of the Airbnbs like what we're doing, we actually live there. Just across the terrace over there. That's why we can get access to this road because some of it is actually private property. So if you want to go for like something that's not too expensive in Oia, we'll link our Airbnb down in the description below. But the rest of it are actually quite luxurious, so it's a little bit more pricey on the calderas and the cliffs. Number 10. Cliff jump at Ammoudi Bay. At the bottom of Oia lies Ammoudi Bay, a colourful little port lined with seafood tavernas. Reserve in advance if you want to dine here, but if you walk past the restaurants, you reach a rocky cove where people cliff jump. The water is absolutely beautiful, crystal clear and turquoise, and so refreshing. So we're currently at Ammoudi Bay, and we're walking down all the steps. I think there's 290 steps, and look at the water, it's so pretty. So basically there's like a little, like sort of like a small gate, but the restaurant owners just by the waterfront, they said that you can actually just go, but it's technically on your own risk because it is like a cliff face. But I suppose just be cautious, I guess. I just did the cliff jump and it was much higher than it looks from the top. You could literally feel yourself like flying for a few seconds before you land in the water, but the vibes are really nice, like people are really nice and they're like cheering for each other, and one guy like waited for me at the bottom. So, where to stay? Now, there are different areas in the island of Santorini that you could possibly stay in. The first being Oia. So that is possibly the most popular and the prettiest village, and it's located on the northern tip of the island. The pros and cons are, for the pros, it's right at the heart of where the most touristy areas are and the most pretty Caldera views. So it's minimal travel and it's also quite relaxing because you don't have to get to and fro from different areas of the island to get to Ammoudi Bay as well as Oia. However, on the cons, because it is like the most popular area to live in, it is the most expensive as well.
Yeah.
But if you're staying there for just a day or two, then that could be ideal for you. And then the second area is Fira, which is the center of Santorini actually, so the city center, so-called city center of Santorini. And this is where the main bus station is, so that's a pro. And secondly, because of its the location, it's quite easy to get around to the different areas of the island, especially if you're staying in Santorini for a longer period of time. The cons is sometimes it can get a little noisy, especially at nighttime. There's a bit more nightlife, but that could be a plus side as well if you do enjoy those kind of things. The third area would be Imerovigli. This is located between Oia and Fira, so Imerovigli would be on the Caldera cliffs as well. And the pros is that this is actually one of the quietest areas to live in, and a lot of honeymooners actually prefer this area because of that. The cons is that it's also quite expensive, but usually it's not as expensive as Oia. Well, it depends on the property that you're staying in as well. And then the fourth option would be down south in either Parisa or Kamari, where there is the black sand beaches. And because Santorini is not really as well known for its beaches as compared to the other Greek islands, these places are not as popular, so it's a lot cheaper to stay there, and it is not on the Caldera cliffs as well. So the cons would be that it's slightly, I suppose it requires more travel time if you want to get to the main areas like Oia or Fira, and also you don't get the famous Caldera views.
That brings us on to our next point about travel. So when you land in the airport in Santorini, there are a couple of modes of transport that you can take to get around the island. Number one is the public bus system. And this is a public bus system that takes you from the airport to the main town of Fira, all the way up to Imerovigli, a couple of different stops, and then it stops in Oia and then goes back down to Fira, the main bus station in Fira. But there is a bus that runs from the airport to Fira as well. And usually these buses are quite cheap, about €3 per person, and that will bring you wherever you want on that entire route. The only problem is that sometimes the bus doesn't come very regularly, and you might need to know which bus stops to take. So the bus going one direction versus the bus going the opposite direction has bus stops at completely opposite or different places. Yeah. And sometimes the bus stop is just a stand that says bus stop. And it's just a concrete pavement on the side of the road.
With no name as well. Yeah. So funny story, we actually took the bus from the airport to Fira and then Fira to Imerovigli. we actually hike the trail. And then one day we wanted to take the bus from Imerovigli to Oia, but we actually were waiting for like almost more than an hour, and finally the bus came. So it was delayed, and the bus driver didn't speak much English, and he was pointing to another direction saying down, down, and we didn't get what he was trying to say, but I think we finally just sort of like assumed that it was probably the wrong side where we were waiting. So we went to the other bus stop, which was the actual bus stop. There was no sign, it just said bus stop, and the bus never arrived. Yeah, so according to our Airbnb host and some of the locals, some of like the buses in between the main stops, like other than Oia and other than Fira, they are not as reliable, so the timetables are not exactly accurate. So those are things to take note of if you do travel with the public bus.
The other options that you can use is number 2, a taxi. Taxi is a very convenient option. However, if you do take a taxi, do know that it's going to be quite pricey. So for example, it is about a 10 to 15 minute drive from the airport to Fira, which is the main city center in Santorini. And despite that short drive, it's going to cost you about €40, just one direction. And it's the same if you go up to Oia as well.
Yeah, there are no Ubers in Santorini. The taxis, because there's such a high demand but a very low supply, the prices are extremely expensive.
There are Ubers, by the way, but Uber basically acts as an intermediary to the taxi, so you're just going to get the same price anyway. And the third mode of transport is you can get an ATV or rent a car, but we probably wouldn't recommend this just because there aren't that many car parking spaces, and the ones that are available usually are sort of taken up already, and there are loads of places like the city centre in Oia where cars can't even access.
Yeah, that's for like peak summer season. Of course, if you're traveling like during the shoulder seasons or during the off-peak season, then it's definitely much easier. But in Oia, there is like a certain limit where cars cannot pass through, and it's pedestrian only. So now the question that most people probably wonder, is it worth it? Well, you have pros and cons again. So the pros is that it's undeniably beautiful. The whitewashed buildings, the deep blue domes, and the endless views over the Caldera. It is everything you sort of imagine from looking at it in postcards, and even more, I think. But I think if you're planning to visit during peak summer especially, there are some cons that you have to be aware of and probably just be prepared for it. So the first is that it's definitely much more expensive compared to all the other Greek islands. With it being so popular and a lot of cruise day trippers come to it as well, a lot of things from the accommodation to the food and just things like souvenirs are definitely more expensive than the other Greek islands. Secondly, it can get very, very crowded. So we actually visited in summer, and we knew it was going to be crowded, but we didn't think it was going to be this crowded because the streets are so narrow. The cobblestone streets are so narrow. When the passengers from the cruise come on, the number of people on the island is way more than the people living there in the accommodations, hotels and Airbnbs. So you get an influx of people, and because of that small narrow streets, everybody is sort of squished together, almost shoulder to shoulder, especially in the town of Oia, the main town. So it can get a little frustrating sometimes, especially when people sort of become a little like frustrated lining up for taking photos, or even if somebody is walking in front and they just randomly stop to look at souvenirs in a shop.
But you can see a stark difference before all these cruises arrive. So we stayed in Oia, and early in the morning there wasn't anybody at all on the street. You can see like just a cat on the street. That's the only friend there. And then when the crowds come in, the street is absolutely packed to the rim. Every inch of like the street is covered in people. And then when they leave after sunset, then it becomes quiet again.
Yeah, so that's the second con. And then the third con is that it is very hot, especially during peak summer. So we're actually originally from Malaysia, so we're quite used to the warm weather, but we didn't sort of expect it to be this hot because a lot of the places in Santorini are actually exposed to direct sunlight. Unless you're inside the cave houses or inside the restaurants, if you're just walking on the streets, you do get that direct sunlight. So always remember to wear sunscreen. Well, in summary, we think it is worth it, but you just have to be prepared and especially if you're coming during peak summer season. From iconic volcanic cliffs to the iconic blue dome churches and warm-hearted locals, Santorini is a place that stays with you long after you leave. If you enjoyed this video, do remember to give it a like and click that subscribe button, because in the next few weeks we will be exploring different places in Greece.
In the meantime, comment down below as to which place you would do first. Also, watch this video if you'd like to see our adventures in the Lake District. See you in the next adventure. Bye!